from Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Bokonjre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia, for Liberia, Liberia, for Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday, from Monday to Sunday, it's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, foreign affairs, hey, reliable information, history, ooh, talking about culture, yeah, politics, education, entertainment, yeah, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of On Point. We have obviously another buffet, platitude of topics in Liberia. You can have a choice. If it's 4 o'clock on the East Coast, it is On Point, where we bring you topics pertaining to current events in Liberia. We tell you as it is, we give you our opinion. It's usually based on facts, based on what's happening in the papers. And it is incumbent upon you to be a participant. You can also call in. You can send in your comments. Whatever it is, whichever way you want to participate, we are here. This is a democratic process. You can chime in anytime you want. We are not going to do you any favor by being timid about the issues and how it should be discussed. We are not politically correct in any way. We discuss it raw as it is. It may affect you positively or negatively. But for me today, I have the greatest minds of all, and we're going to be discussing the issues. Do us a favor. We are having problem with our social media network. Please invite everybody in your network. Invite everybody in your network. Like the folks say, your friends may not be my friends may not be your friends. We may have mutual friends, but you have more friends than I do. Plug us into your comment section, plug us into your network. Let's invite more folks. Let's discuss. Let's make this an interactive. This is not an anti-white guy or anti-CDC or anti-anybody. This is a pro-Liberian show. Let me introduce to you some of the best minds that Liberia has ever produced right here on this particular show. Let me start with Mr. Tawo. Mr. Tawo, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing very good, Mr. Gimmon and everybody else on the panel. Houston is very nice. The weather is good and it's sunny.
Great. We don't have any problem today in Houston, so we are doing well. Mr. Fidel Booty from the UK. How the Queen and how the King doing?
Mr. Gimmon, you keep asking about the Queen, and I told you the Queen has been dead for quite a long time now. So if I knew how the Queen was, I wouldn't be talking to you.
We have a king. No. The King have a wife.
Yeah. King. Well, the King, I'm sure is okay. It's great as always to be here. I'm looking forward to another tough talking day as we try and dissect some of the issues that are going on in our country.
Great, Mr. Elvis Morris. I see the folks in Minnesota are rejoicing because the Minnesota Timberwolves are winning. How you doing there, young man? I see you got a broad smile on your face.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting, but we're not too excited because we know You know, we got more tough things ahead of us. But like Dr. Woody was saying, I know that was his introduction, but it's not like a queen and king monarchy. The king is the head. He has a consort, which is Camilla. So she's not a queen; she's a consort. But the weather is kind of not so good today. You know, it's overcast, it's rainy a little bit, so not really a bright day. But hopefully, we have a bright discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Victor Namwe, a political analyst, a friend of mine. We go all the way back. We are, like the Jews would say, we are in a wonderland. We are kind of wandering. We are wondering. It has taken us over 40 years, Mr. Namwe. Talk to me.
Hey, someday we'll find our way. But listen, it's good to be here. I'm not doing so well. My Sixers just went down 3-0 to 3-1 to the Knicks. So it's not going very good here. Perhaps Dr. Booty can make me the king of, you know. But it's good to be here, fellows.
Thank you very much. My Miami Heat, we went down 2-1 to the Boston Celtics. But like the old New York Yankee philosopher used to say, it is not over till it's over. So if you are down 3-1, you're down 1-2, you still got ways to go. It can happen. So ladies and gentlemen, let's go through the topics. Mr. Booty, do you have the topics with you?
Yes, I had it. Just let me just get back to that. I didn't realize. Yeah, okay, I've got it.
Do you have the topics
So
with you?
I've got the 4 topics here, so I can run through them quite quickly.
Can you read it out for us so it don't look like we got a king over here?
No, yeah, so the first topic for today. So the executive mansion loses at the Supreme Court on tenure replacements. Topic 2: the president immediately following court's decision suspends tenured officials and replaces them. 3: Nimba legislative election. Is this a turning point? Who owns Nimba, Prince Johnson or Jeremiah Kuhn? And 4th, Senate probes into alleged action by then President-elect Boakai advisor Sylvester Grimsby to solicit funds from NASCOR before the inauguration. Is this a guise by anti-Grimsby support to get him out?
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, like we said, the topics in Liberia is a potpourri, it's a buffet. You could pick any one, but we have narrowed it down to 4. The first one is the executive mansion. The president, the administration, the Supreme Court dealt a nasty, I would call it in boxing, low blow, not below the belt, but low, the one that hurts your kidney. The Supreme Court said, Mr. President, the administration, this is not how government is run per se. Go back to status quo ante and follow the rule of law. There are procedures in doing these things. The president came out, put out this flamboyant notice that he accepts in its totality the ruling of the court. And then within a few hours, turned around and did the ugliest of things that I have ever seen from an administration that promises to do something new, to do it brand new, to do different, to bring law and order. Mr. Namwe, let me start with you. Your take on the Supreme Court ruling and the subsequent decision by the president following the decision.
Well, Jerome, I think the ruling I think was a ruling in the right direction. I think the ruling simply signaled to the president that he's not a monarch, he's a president, and he must play by the rules. The Constitution gives him the power through Article 56 to nominate officials in government. The Constitution also gives the legislature through Article 89 the powers to make laws. And so when the legislature establishes the tenure law and they become law of the land, then the president must play by the rules. Um, one is tenured. They can be removed, but for cause, and then they must also be afforded the due process. And the president apparently did not do any of the two. So the Supreme Court is not saying to him, no, you cannot remove an appointee of the presidency, but make sure it is done properly. It is done according to the law. So now, what I'm left to wonder is as to whether the president is also in his right to suspend these people. I don't know what the law says about that, but they might have a case here as well. They could go back to court and challenge the suspension. And again, we come right back at where we are. More than that, he suspended these people and authorized, an audit, but then without waiting for the process, he has already gone ahead to appoint people in their place. So it looks to me like he's doubling down on a path that may very well prove futile for him, meaning the president.
Yes. Mr. Tao, the
Yes.
Supreme Court has spoken. Mr. President, you are proceeding the wrong way. There are rules laid out by law, and you have to follow the rules. What says G about the Supreme Court decision?
Yeah, first, before I even comment on that, I'm one of those here. I don't believe in the whole tenure stuff in the first place because it tied the hands of government. I think it's a very bad system because nothing they ever put in place works. So if you're trying to protect people based on tenure, it doesn't work. But having said that, the same government was the one that put this rule together. Apparently, they thought they were doing it for Judge Weah's government, and he fought them and he lost. But for the same president that said that he agreed with the ruling to turn around and then suspend them, you said you are doing an audit. Like Brother Nangwe said, it said that they're already guilty or something, so you suspend them or you're going to audit them and then find out that they're not guilty. So you can see the president and his team, they're trying to maneuver around this by creating a suspension that is going to be indefinite so that they can drag it and maybe at some point negotiate in the background, having frustrated these people and then maybe pay them off. But I don't think the government have money for stuff like that. I listened to several press conferences. I think the best thing this government need to do is go back to the House, both up and low, and let them try to repeal this whole stuff, and then let the courts be clear, and then so that instead of going back and forth, because at this stage we are looking at 100 days deliverables and other stuff, our government being fully formed, but here we are fighting back and forth over all of this stuff, and the people's business is being left just there because people want job.
Dr. Booty, here we are again. It looks like it's a secular argument. We did the asset recovery, the same result. The Supreme Court keep telling these folks that you got a procedural issue. You just not following the process. You cannot count, starting at 10. You got to start from 1 and then work your way up to 10. You can't come in the middle of the county and just say 10, 11, 12, 13. You don't do that. Dr. Booty, your take on this Supreme Court and President Waika?
Well, thank you. I think for me personally, I'm glad that this show didn't happen on Friday, because Friday I was angry, right? When I saw that, I was really, really angry, and I'll tell you why I was angry. So I criticized many times President Weah when he was president, but I did it in a way that understood that he didn't know what he was doing. This guy wasn't a politician. He hadn't ran an institution before. he didn't have the experience to be. So when you're questioning him, you have to do it with caution, right? Because okay, he's learning on the job. Boakai has been in government for 90 years or 70 years or however many years he's been in government, right? He's ran multiple institutions and organizations. He was vice president of Liberia for 12 years, right? He should know better. He should know better. I gave you a couple of reasons why I was angry. First of all, I agree with the Supreme Court. I think they did the right thing. I disagree with Mr. Tao that we should scrap the tenure positions because I think they're good for integrity and transparency and accountability. However, my issue here is if these individuals did something wrong or did things wrong during the elections that you were going to investigate them for, you should have started the investigation in January. You don't appoint individuals to their positions. The Supreme Court turns around and tells you, oh no, you can't do that. And then you try to circumvent the authority of the Supreme Court with this bogus nonsense about suspending people to investigate them for whatever craziness that they're investigating them for. And then the one that really angered me was this thing about, for the sake of continuity, we're going to bring a bunch of individuals who have absolutely no experience of the Liberia Telecommunication Authority, have never worked in an institution before, to come in and ensure continuity. My limited understanding of continuity is you want people to continue the process. To be able to do that, the people have to know what they're doing. So you promote people from within the institution to run it until the investigations are completed. You don't bring individuals from outside. And the point that Mr. Tao touched on, which is another reason I'm angry, is because you're going to pay these guys. And then you're paying the suspended officials when you could have just appointed people from within the organization and just pay one group of people. And it's just, I think these guys are basically treating the Liberian people like idiots, right? Like they just look at the Liberian people and say, in Liberian language, we say that mumu, we bunch of mumu there, so they're just treating us any kind of way, right? And it's annoying. I'll be honest with you, I'm getting angry with the whole situation. And I'm glad that I had a couple of days, but I think the couple of days didn't help. Because I'm going off right now and I'm angry. I'll be honest with you, I'm very angry at it.
Thank you. Mr. Morris, we are back. We have had this conversation a million times. We are back to square one. All the civilized people, educated people say, you got to go back to, how do you call it? Status quo ante. You go back and begin from where you were. Go back to the beginning, to the starting point, and work your way from that down. The game have not started. You can't start on the 50-yard line and say the other guys will follow you. No, everybody got to start on the same line.
Thank you, Mr. Gaiman. Look, I think the president got dealt a legal country blow, as we call it in Liberia. And I don't blame him. I blame those quote unquote political riches who is on his back for these positions. But if he was a wise old owl, like people refer to him, he would have took his time, find cause on these people, like Dr. Booty was saying. Had he gone to court, or had these people gone to court for the suspension, had he suspended them before he tried to replace them or remove them, then the judge would, the Supreme Court would judge them on the merits of the suspension. If there was cause in the suspension, then the president could remove them for cause. But he put the cart before the horse by trying to remove them arbitrarily without cause, or at least without stating cause. And when the Supreme Court, struck it down, that's why most people are saying this is a fishing expedition now, because it's looking for all cause, to try to fire them. Using old audits, trying to, double the audits on them to find anything on them. The thing here is, this could be a benefit to our country if the president now tell these guys, look, y'all notice, we're watching you like a hawk. If you do one thing wrong that is against the code of conduct or against the act establishing this tenure position, we're going to remove you. That's another way to curb corruption, because these guys now know that their job is on the line. They're going to do their job, the right way and with integrity, because they understand that if they don't, they will be removed. So the president, he played his hands too soon. Should have waited a few months, watch these guys like a hawk if he intended to remove them. And if they did anything wrong, and you can go through the process. But it was so quick, and I think it was because of the pressure coming from behind the scenes of these people who wanted these positions. Nobody wanted to sit on the sideline for 6 months before they get a job in the government that they quote unquote struggle so much to bring into power. So they put that fire on his back. And we know this president like a turtle who needs an extra push. And we see people going there calling themselves eminent people, trying to go in strong arm positions on people. It's the wrong way to do it. But President Boyka has to put his foot down. He's a traditional man. He needs to show his authority and not allow people to push him whichever way the wind blows. But overall, suspension right now is looking kind of weak because we know his intention, we know his motives. So if you just say that these people were corrupt, these people did so and so thing, you should have used that exact reason to remove them or suspend them in the first place, not after you've been rebuffed by the Supreme Court. I'll leave it there.
Mr. Nambe, in these United States and in democracies, they say you have to assume that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. I would have waited, or the prudent thing to do would be do the audit, find cause, and remove. But you cannot, find the person guilty and say, why you are guilty, we are now going to find evidence to exonerate you. It says a lot about, and I'm back to the same thing where the folks say, you're the book people, when you come from the diaspora, you come over here, you bring more problem. This is, we will move President Weah and his incompetent, uneducated, unexposed people, and we are going to bring in experienced people, highly educated, experienced, that will conform to the rule of law. Then you find them doing this. Mr. Namwe, for those of you who were on this particular platform, advocating for the rule of law and competence and education and experience, here we are.
Yeah. And I'm glad that at least the Supreme Court is finally proving. I hope they stay the course, but at least they're giving us hope that they could be that voice of reason right now in the political space. It looks like the president is trying to reverse engineer the process. So he's telling us that the initial attempt to replace these people was without cause, because now he's trying to find the cause by commissioning an audit. The report that he referenced for suspending these people is a status report. It's not even an audit. So the writer from the executive mansion reads like a hope. They're hoping to find something. I don't know if that is sufficient grounds to remove and replace these people. But this is really one of those things again that leaves us wondering as to whether this government really is up to the task. And people hate us when we say so. But we are looking at the facts. This president is aware of the tenure process. There's a reason why tenures are granted. I agree with Mr. Tao. Maybe we don't need that many positions tenured. But once the tenure has been placed on the position, then the process later must be followed to remove these people. The tenure is there to give these people the independence to think without looking over their shoulders. So if the president feels that some of these positions don't deserve to be tenure positions, then do the right thing, go to the legislature and repeal the law that established the tenure for these positions. But you can't just replace people willy-nilly. And then when the court tells you not to do it, you get upset. You go in a corner, you throw in a tantrum, and then you throw out suspension against these people. It just looks childish and vindictive, So I don't know how this is going to play out. I hope these people don't, give this president a pass on this, like the Booty said, this bogus suspension. I hope they will challenge him for suspending them without cause, it appears. They should let him prove why he's suspending these people and replacing them. So now it looks like he's going to be paying these people because this suspension is very, very ambiguous. It doesn't say whether they're suspended with pay, without pay. So I will assume he's going to pay these people, and then the new people he's putting in their place, he's also going to pay them. At the end of the day, what do we have? We have double payment for one position. Does that make sense to anybody? I doubt even the president will find this sensible.
Mr. Tower,
Yes, sir.
what got to me, one that struck me was the letter that was written. The letter said, the original letter that we got says, "It has come to my attention that you are corrupt." Or it has come to my. I mean, it is ridiculous. The president said, basically, in layman terms, someone told me that you stole something. Basically, that's what it is to say. It has come to my attention that the corruption going on in your department. Therefore, you are suspended. He didn't say, based on these numbers, we got return checks, and each check were not accounted for on this day, on that day, and come and vindicate yourself. Instead, he said, "It has come to my attention that you are corrupt or you are involved in the corruption. You are suspended until we can substantiate." Mr. Tower,
Yes.
I never see anything like this.
Yeah. So you see, this is what you see what you just explained there. This is the problem. This is why I'm saying tenure positions are not needed. You see, there is no difference. The tenure positions and even these other so-called corruption institutions, they're all tenure positions. They're not needed because if you look at the way Liberia is structured and the rules, like if you look at the Justice Ministry, right? They already have the crime department. They have the how you call this money laundering. All of this stuff is already built in there. If me, as just a regular Liberian, if I went and I stole a vehicle from GSA, or I went and I stole some money from the government in a government property, they don't need to bring me to no institution. The same Justice Ministry that have all the stuff within the police. Look at the structure. Everything is there. So why do they need to create a different institution, tenure it to prosecute somebody that stole, some government official that stole from the government? They're just regular citizens like me and you. So the point I'm making, that saying the tenure positions are not necessary, is because the institutions are not set up right. They are not set up to work. So we should work on building those things first, build trust, create credible people. Then when you put people in that are tenure, then it will work. But what they're doing is just about creating jobs. So like Mr. Murray just said, if the president could have waited, but no, he cannot wait because he needs to put people in position.
Well, I don't know if I agree with Mr. Tower entirely that there shouldn't be position. There's a reason why some of
No, I'm not saying there shouldn't be tenure position. I said we should fix the institution so that when it start working first, at least when they start working, you fix the system. When the system is working, then when you put people in position for tenure, then these people are capable and they're qualified, and then it will work. But not in the kind of murky.
So the issue, I think the issue at hand is not necessarily that the president disagrees with the tenure position as much as he not respecting the very, very, very tenure position that he created when he was vice president. This is the issue. Yes, I agree with you. I think there are too many positions that are tenure, they should be reduced. But there is a process. You can just get up from your bed, drink a cup of coffee, and then you go and strike things down. You don't. That's not how it works.
I agree with that.
And I'm saying, look
at what happened here now. I'm saying, I agree with all that. Look at what I agree with all that. Look at the assumption that we keep making, that the tenure positions were set up so that they can be apolitical, so that it's always going to be political. They're political appointments. These people come from a party or from certain block, and so they hold loyalty. Even here in the U.S., it happens because there's a lot of examples made.
Those will be reason for cause for removal, right, Mr. Tower? If you think the president,
no, I'm not saying they shouldn't remove them. I mean, I'm not saying he should remove them, and he's right. I think you're not understanding my point. I'm saying the way he's going about it is wrong. They passed the law; they should obey it. I'm saying, on the contrary, that this position, the tenure position, were not even necessary in the first place for them to even pass that law. Because in order for you to want an institution to work, you must first build it. and then you have people that are credible to go in there, but they didn't build anything. They just threw people in there, tied them in for 5 years, for 10 years, for what?
Mr. Tao, let me agree. Let me disagree with you there, because I think these institutions were established by law. So an act of the legislature, or statute, or whatever you want to call it, was created. All of usually when these things are being put together, they go into committee room, right? They read through the structure of the act. They make sure that all of the various components are in place before it is then passed and go to the president to sign. I don't believe, right, that the Liberia Telecommunication Authority, right, which is supposed to regulate telecommunications organizations in Liberia, wasn't set up properly. It has been functioning since Madam Salih's administration. They've been regulating all of the telecom companies in Liberia adequately, right? You can't tell me that the national fisheries and whatever is not working properly. Again, FAO has been giving them funding. They've been signing agreements with different countries and other organizations to come and facilitate and improve our system. So you can't tell me it's not working, right?
Have you read the national fishery? Wait. Have you read the act that established a national fishery? And have you read?
I skimmed read it. I didn't read it.
Mr. Tower, one at a time, please. Let Mr. Tower go ahead.
Yeah. The point I'm trying to make, Mr. Tower, is my disagreement is the institutions were established. They've been working for years. There is no okay, let me just put the example this way. Look at the United States of America, right? The supposed example of what democracy is supposed to be. The Supreme Court right now looks like it's not working well, right? I was listening to arguments the other day when they were listening to the immunity arguments for President Trump. It seems as though that the judges did not understand what was going on, and they were being very political in what they were trying to do. So there will always be institutions every institution will have issues that we can fix as we go on. We can't say get rid of the institution, make it perfect before you establish it. That's not possible, because I'm sure Mr. Morris or Mr. Nangwe will agree, every organization go through teething processes. There's always a process of learning. And like I said earlier, one of the reasons why I caught a lot of slack for President Weir, because he was learning on the job, right? So these are new institutions. They will make mistakes. They will learn from their mistakes, and then they will become better. But we can't get rid of them every time there's a sign of a mistake and say, oh, because you made a mistake, you're not perfect, so we'll get rid. No. They do serve a purpose. They get it right most of the time. So then we fix the little areas. But we should focus on the issue. And I'm glad that Mr. Nangwe tried to bring it back to the issue. The issue here is the tenure positions are in place. Whether we like it, whether we don't like it, they're there. Since they're there, you have to approach them legally. And the president has failed so far.
Okay, so Mr. Booty, I did not dispute that. When I spoke first, I said yes, it's in place. If the president wants to actually remove them, he should go to court. If you don't think tenure is necessary for him to repeal, for them to or undo the law, I said that. So that's not the point. But I disagree for you to say they're new institution and they've been working. No, they're not working. GSC they put in place. What benefit has it created for us? They're pushing millions of dollars through there. How you call the other one? Financial intelligence agency. What benefit have we gotten from it? Nothing. The national fishery. I've been to the headquarters Coast Guard base. I have somebody that is one of the director. I was in Liberia. I went there, and you know what they did in that particular fishery? Have you read the document? I've read it. You know who sponsored that? The EU and the US. You know what they did? I work in oil and gas.
Mr. Gilman, if you give other people time, when I ask them, I want extra time.
Yeah, 1 minute.
I'm trying to lay something out. In the international so-called stuff, it's 12 miles off the coast. That is what they consider your coastline, right? You know what they did in Liberia? They considered 6 of those in that particular store where each time they bring something and they say they establish it for you, it's for them to screw you. Ellen Johnson selling them and Boycott in the same Boycott, they signed to where they reduce Liberia's or stuff to 6 miles.
So
And
how does removing tenure resolve that?
no. You said the tenure is
Mr.
working,
Towell,
and I'm just
Mr.
telling you
Towell,
some stuff. Why
yeah,
it's not working?
okay, Mr. Morris, let's get back to the topic here. Let's move on to the second part of that question, which is after the decision was made, and there was an article today in Front Page Africa that a documentation or a plan was leaked that there was a plan prior to Joseph Waka going to the Supreme Court to get rid of all of these people and had a plan how they were going to do it. But they thought that the Supreme Court was sided with them. But now that the Supreme Court had dealt them a blow, they went back to plan B, which is to accuse people randomly and just say, well, since the whole country is corrupt, the Liberian people will agree with us that everybody is corrupt, so we can throw a dragnet. So these people are corrupt and they have to go not only with not the head, but the entire establishment, including the entire board of directors and the director, all deputies, everybody has to go in a swoop.
You know, this is not an insult to President Boycott, but he has to be a two-process thinker. If I do this, this is going to happen. If I don't do this, this won't happen. You have to have that kind of mindset. What's taking him so long to pull forth a Supreme Court justice? You know, whose legal, ideology probably matches well with his. What's taking him so long? President, they chomp at the bit of having Supreme Court justices. If they can have one, that's good. The more they have, the even better for them. So what's taking him so long? You have to be proactive. Had he had at least a voice on the court that reflect his legal ideology or somewhat, agrees with the way he thinks things, should proceed legally in the country, he would have had, somebody there that will advocate maybe the way he sees, advocate for the way he sees things, legally. Secondly, President Boyka is coming in to pretty much undo everything that President Weah did. And I think that's wrong because with all of the flaws and all of the shortcomings that President Weah had, he certainly did some things that was in the interest of the country. So if President Boyka want to come in and shoot everybody, quote unquote, clean house of every political appointed officials that is in government that was made by President Weah, it's the wrong thing to do. The wrong thing. Because I can guarantee you, CDC will be back in power, whether it's 2029 or further on, they will be back. We almost have a binary political system now. Whether it's Weah that's coming back or somebody else that's going to take over the party, there will be probably the arch, rival to the Unity Party come 2029 and beyond. So President Boyka has to tread lightly. These are human beings. These are people who have families, some of them who have strong connections within and outside of the country. So you have to be mindful. The last thing I would say is to Mr. Taiwo, look, democracy in its whole is imperfect. So you can't wait for the ministry to be working perfectly before you bring in people, to head that ministry. You have to build institution brick by brick. And one of the things that I think is lacking in our government system, look, in this country, at my job or any other job, if you're in charge of purchasing, for example, when you purchase something for the company, it is not just only up to you to know what you purchase. If you have superiors, if you have other people who are on a lateral level as you, they have the right to go into the system and see exactly what you purchased. If it was in the confines of the scope of your job, they have the ability to see that. So that way it curbs corruption because if my boss go into my computer and see what I spent 15,000 on or what I spent 10,000 on, and he knows that was outside of what I was supposed to be purchasing or outside of my limit, he's going to come and question me about it. That's why I think inspector generals, like all of these agencies are needed. I think people having some sort of, I don't want to say regulation or regulators, watching them on how to purchase and how to use the money for those agencies is important. Because if you just leave the dog in the hen house, I guarantee you he will eat a couple of those chickens. So the reality is you have to have people watching these officials, or else it's going to breed corruption. So when President Boycott is saying that these guys were allegedly corrupt and were taking money and engaging in political activities when they shouldn't have been doing it, look, you have to present that evidence to the court on those grounds. And then when they agree with you, then you ask for their removal. Don't do things the other way around, like Mr. Namwe was saying. They reverse engineering the procedural process to try to remove these guys. It's the wrong thing to do. We ask President Boycott, go the straight and narrow route. You're only probably there for one term. You want to leave a good legacy. Don't be seen as a lawless president, because that will breed contempt and it can lead to even more disastrous outcomes. I'll leave it there.
Mr. Morris, I like your optimism, but why do you think anybody would like the CDC back into power? What is it that anybody will miss the CDC for? What did they do?
17,000 reasons. 17,000 reasons that could flip.
Like one, give me one.
No, but Mr. Namwe, he just told you what separates CDs from Unity Party in this going election, 17,000 votes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, anyway, so that's the reason. But let's go, Mr. Namwe, let's go to the next one here.
Yeah.
How do we, the so-called educated, experienced folks, go to an established institution, the final arbiter of law, the Supreme Court, makes a decision, then you turn around and try to sabotage, circumvent the ruling of the Supreme Court by going after the same people that the Supreme Court just said you cannot touch them. Mr. Namwe, what does this say about our rule, our law, our society, about rule of law?
Yeah. So that says a lot about, I don't know if it says a lot about the entire society, but that says a lot about the current government, that they believe they're above the law. The law doesn't apply to them. They don't need to operate to work within the framework of the Constitution. Yeah, you appointed these people, you were reversed. And the reason for which you were reversed was your procedure was wrong. And then you go ahead and double down using the same wrong procedure and suspending these people. Again, what is the reason for suspending these people? There isn't really anything given. There's no justification. So that procedure also is faulty. So I don't understand, and I don't know why, Jerome, I can explain this, why this government will continue to double down on the wrong path. I don't get it. And these very people that he appointed before are the same very people. What is it? What about these people? Why is it they so special that they must be sent to the Liberia Telecommunication Authority? You know, it makes you wonder what really is at stake here. Is it just this president feel that these people are so competent, or what is it? I don't know. I can't explain it. I wish I could, but I can't. But I can tell you, the first attempt was wrong. The second attempt is also wrong. So I don't know what that says about this, about doing the same thing and expecting this different result. I'm not going to say it, but it looks like they want to expect a different result from doing the same thing over and over. It doesn't make sense to me.
Dr. Budi, our country's backwardness is based on this kind of attitude in the United States and everywhere else where they are developed countries. The subject of continuity is so important. In the past, we saw when Ellie came in, they were so vindictive of the previous Doe administration. Everything that Doe put in place, they condemned and demolished, including the beautiful building that were right where they now have, I think it was the police academy or whatever that was built by it. Beautiful structure. Ellen came in and said everything that Doe had, in fact, the building was rotten. The building structurally was not sound, without giving us any structural engineering proof. And then when she made a decision, she appropriated $3.5 million to demolish the building. And the folks said, why $3.5 million? She said, the structure is I guess the structure so strong it needed to be demolished, it needed more money. So here we are. You said the structure needed to be knocked down because it was rotten. Then you turn around, you want $3.5 million because the structure so sound it needed to be demolished professionally. So here we are. Joseph Boycott from our same school of thought. Everything that George we have put in place, whether it's good or not, he is going to knock it down, including anything that they put in place that George Weah partake of, like this tenure position. President Weah CDC did not do that. It was the I guess the original Unity Party that created these tenure positions. Dr. Booty, it is mind-boggling that this is happening in our lifetime.
Quick question, Mr.
Well,
Gaming. Are we live on Facebook? I'm not seeing any of our Facebook people.
Yes, I got Facebook. We got
we're live on Facebook, yeah.
we got everything checked.
Yeah. No, but I think just a little correction, Mr. Gaiman, before we go forward. President Weah did try with LACC, I think, and then I think they, like Mr. Nangbe or Mr. Tao suggested, what President Weah did is change the law, all right, to try and get rid of the president that he wanted to get rid of. He changed the law, so there were some. It was repealed and then reenacted, and kind of, the powers of the institutions were a bit limited after that reenactment. So he did it the right way. He had the majority in the House and the Senate, and he could do it, right? Obviously, I'm sure this president does not believe that he can through the legislature, because he doesn't have a majority in either of the houses. So look, to the point that you made, and I think Mr. Nangbe touched on this as well. I know some of the individuals the president has appointed, right? And these individuals have no background in telecommunication, right? So whatever expertise they have that he's trying to force feed them to the Liberian people, they don't have, right? That's the first thing. But secondly, if we go way back to when I first appeared on this show, I said very clearly that this president has no spine, right? This president is spineless. He's unable to push back against the individuals he has around him. When they ask him to do something, he doesn't know how to say yes. He doesn't know how to say no. So he allows them to pull him from one pillow to another post. And unfortunately, we are the ones that are going to suffer. When I say we are the ones, all Liberians, because the limited resources that we have as a country is being mismanaged to try and pay these individuals. Now, we've already talked on this show about the asset recovery team, most of whom don't have any reason of being on that team, most of whom are being paid money that they should not be paid, when we have institutions that can go out there like the GSA to collect these items. If they do, in fact, I have evidence and having gone to court that these people have taken anything away from government. So the president look, every time I talk about it, I'll be honest with you, I get angry, because these are individuals that should know better, right? They're educated, they're experienced, they've been there, they've done it, they've got the t-shirts, like multiple I can probably have a whole closet of t-shirts, right? So he should know better. But because he has no spine, look, as horrible as it might sound, some people might just have been made to be number two. Number one, good for them. Some people just supposed to be there to say yes or yes or yes or kind of thing. And he seems like someone who is supposed to be a yes or person. He doesn't have the capacity to lead. He hasn't demonstrated anything to me to give me any confidence that he's going to steer Liberia in the right direction. He has a bunch of individuals around him who are there to steal, to corrupt, and deprive the Liberian people. And because he doesn't have that spine to push back against them, this is going to get worse, right? And I don't believe, I was thinking about it today. Normally they say, and I'm sure most of you have heard this, things will get worse before they get better. In this situation, things will continue to get worse. It's never going to get better.
Great. Let's get to this leads us into number 3 here. This is a total shift in politics, in political talk. Let's look at what's happening. Let's talk Nimba politics here. Let's talk Nimba politics. We have an election that just took place in Nimba. And in that election, we saw the candidate that was endorsed by Prince Johnson lost the election. My folks, people are saying this is a turning point. This could be a turning point in Nimba politics. Has Prince Johnson lost his mojo? Do we have a new sheriff in town? Is Mr. Mr. Tao, is he, let me see if I can get him in here.
You know, it looks like whenever Mr. Tower is on the right side of the issue, he gets connected. But when he keeps it,
That's right.
He doesn't say LEC bill. That's his problem.
I was
He's
using-
saying his LEC bill.
I was using my tablet.
Let me start with political analyst here because he's the politician here. Mr. Nimba, what's going on? Read some tea leaves here. What's going on in Nimba?
you know, Senator Johnson has been shaking before. I mean, my friend Larry Yonkwe has been pounding at him. Tiawan Gongo, my friend, has been pounding. This is not the first time he has raised up on a candidate's arm and the lose. Francis Mawia, I think from district number 1 in the 2023, I believe, elections, was his candidate for that district number 1, and he lost. He's been here before. Does it mean that he's going to bounce back like he did on the previous occasion? Maybe not. But the point is, this is a path that he has traveled before. Prince Johnson is still very popular in Nimba. So I'm not very sure what this portends. Has he been rebuffed? Yes. I think he didn't handle this properly because he himself, he was all over the place. He did not like Koga, and then he liked Koga when Koga had to come, and genuflect and, put his hand over Koga and all of that. As a matter of fact, I'm glad he didn't win because I don't think that kind of person, deserve to go and represent the people if you're going to be so, I don't want to say so submissive, but with that kind of attitude. So I think yes, Johnson may have chosen the wrong side this time, but does that mean that his popularity in Nimba is diminishing? I am not sure. I think he still remains very popular, and we may not know that again until he's tested again. But yes, this has happened to him before. This is not the first time, and he has always managed to recalibrate and come back. And come back resoundingly. So, in short, we have to wait so that he's tested again. And if there is a repeat, I think then we can begin to say it looks like the senator's popularity is waning. But for now, I will hold my judgment on his popularity in Nimba.
Morris.
Thank you.
You are the Prince Johnson neighbor. You from right down the street. You guys are neighbors. Granjide and Nimba, intermarriage, everything is going on there. Prince Johnson, politicians will say he has climaxed, he has reached his zenith. He's not going to be senator. He can't go beyond senator. He's not complaining that he made a mistake. This is not what he bargained for. And then the sanction and everything else, and then his going against his own vice president. So people are saying things are gradually changing in Nimba based on his own utterances.
Okay. For disclosure, I have in-laws from Nimba. I have people who live in Nimba County that I'm in close contact with. So, my wife, my maternal family is from Nimba. So, I know people there. But let me just say this. I'm happy for the people of Nimba. One being that, you have a Mon candidate who was Prince Johnson's closest competitor in the past elections. And the people there has always been calling for ethnic balance, especially in the senatorial positions. And Jan Twine has been a name on the lips of many young people who sees him as the future of the county. And one of him, had Prince Johnson not been in the race this past election, he would have easily won. The second problem there, you have two Don candidates, Thomas Groupie, who I already serve as, I think, representative and senator, and of course, Samuel Kogar, who has also served as representative, and the people have seen him perform, and to their taste, they weren't satisfactory. And Prince Johnson himself had previously endorsed Yan Twine, knowing that he was the choice of the people, especially the young people in the county. But because of this war crime court, because of his own self-interest at the 11th hour, decided to to jump ship because he said that quote unquote Yan Twine was conniving with the Joseph Whitecar administration to put him in jail, to take him out of the picture. So he only jumped ship because of his own self-serving interest. And the people had already made up their mind this is who they wanted to be their next, candidate. And Prince Johnson has this idea of, well, he said it even doing, Professor Mawia and Sam Brown, who's, I'm quite close with. My wife knows his wife, the one in school together. But these people say that they wanted Sam Brown in Ganta in that region, even though it's heavily mind plays and Sam Brown is a Gill man, opposed to the Gill candidate, who Prince Johnson said that the people have been wanting, a mind man. They've been complaining to me that all the representatives and senators usually, down people. So I'm going to support this professor because he's a mind man, and that way we'll bring some balance. And the people rejected it and voted for Sam Brown because of the work he's been doing on the roads and other things like that. So the reality is the people know what they want when it comes to the county elections. They know what they want. When it comes to the national election, like Prince Johnson was doing, trying to scaremonger them, saying that George Weah is Samuel Doe and he would bring the old days back. Scaremongering, which I think was deplorable, but people thought that their son, Jeremiah Kumbi, on the ticket was all they needed to vote heavily in his favor. So Nima politics can be, peculiar, but I'm happy that we finally have a Mon senator, who's going to represent the people of Nimba, and I think it's a good thing. But I don't think it diminished Prince Johnson's popularity or his authority in the county. He himself knew that this was the way the wind was blowing. But like I said, because he was trying to retaliate against the Joseph Boyka administration, he switched his endorsement from Yan, to Samuel Kogar, which is the wrong thing to do because the people already decided on Yan. But that would be my take. I'll leave it there.
Dr. Booty, if I know from my own political analysis that Prince Johnson has reached the top of his career. There's no other place he cannot become president. That senator, that's it for him. Senator Johnson is now feeling the heat. Even as we speak, there are talks in the corridors of power that the VP is already basically a unity partisan already. So if Mr. Kuhn, Vice President Kuhn, decided to run 2029, and he didn't run as MDR candidate, but ran as a unity partisan, do you think Prince Johnson has the popularity and the power and the mandate to say, this man, MDR brought him to prominence, and he left MDR, he went to Unity Party, and I'm not supporting Unity Party? Can he say, I'm no longer going to support Unity Party? Is he popular enough to swing the vote again in favor of anybody that is anti-Unity Party?
All right. So I think since Mr. Morris started the disclaimer, I need to also state my disclaimer as well. So my granddad was from Sino County, settled in Nimba in 1960s, in the 60s somewhere. So my dad, most of my family, and myself, we grew up in Ganta. We've got most of our properties there as well. Yan was actually my classmate. So Yan and I went to Ganta Methodist together. So I'm glad, on a personal note, that he has been elected as senator for Nimba County. I don't believe, and I think I'm singing from the same sheet as Mr. Nangwe and Mr. Morris, but slightly different. I don't believe that his election diminishes Senator Johnson's influence in the county. I think he remains a kingmaker if he's still around, and obviously that's a big if. If what Mr. Morris is saying, that he's worried that Senator-elect Twine is collaborating or conniving with the Bwaka people to try and get him out, then if he gets gotten out, then he might not be a kingmaker anymore. But having spent a lot of time in Nimba County, whether it is conversations between the Gills and the Manos internally, when it comes to anything that threatens the interest of the county, they tend to unify, right? So the county tends to come together and seek the interest of the county. I believe with President Sirleaf, the county felt that she was the person to serve their interests, so they aligned behind the words of Prince Johnson. And I think they did the same with President Weah. They felt that he was the best person to serve their interests, and the county aligned. And again, they've done with President Boakai. So I believe that his authority in the county hasn't diminished. I believe that his history with the county, him being viewed as a defender of the county hasn't diminished. Having said that, Mr. Morris pointed that out. Yan ran Senator Johnson very closely in the last election, and I will be honest with you, even though he's a friend of mine, I was surprised, right, to see how closely he ran Senator Johnson. It was a close election, and what he did, which I thought was very smart, was once the dust started to settle, he went and paid his respect to Senator Johnson and Vice President-elect Cohn. There was a meeting where the three of them were together. There were photographs, and so people in the county already saw some unity from the start, which was culminated in Senator Johnson initially, like Mr. Morris mentioned, endorsing Yan to say, "Look, this is my guy," right? And only later on, then decided to change his mind when I think most people had already decided, look, this is the guy you said we should vote for. We're going to stick with our choice, right? You can't tell her he's the guy. We know he's the guy. And late in the day, you're now wanting to confuse us, right? So I think if elections were held now, I don't see anyone who runs against Senator Johnson winning in Nimba County. I think his strength is still there. It might be diminishing, but he has a way of getting people in the county behind him with this them against us narrative, right? He knows how to play the game of them against us. And once he starts to beat that drum, the county seems to kind of rally around him. And I think for me, that hasn't diminished yet.
Great. Mr. Taiwo.
Yes.
It looks like, from all indication, I know we're years away, but if Mr. Vice President Cohn decides to run, he's going to run as a unity party thing. Prince Johnson.
He has inside tips.
Yes, we are seeing the maneuvering. We are seeing. You saw when Prince Johnson said he was going against Twine. What's his name? Twine. That's the name. Twine. The vice president did his work on the ground. He didn't even show up to vote, but he knew what he wanted and what he wanted to prevail. If he decides to run as a standard bearer or partisan of the Unity Party, Prince Johnson has made it clear he cannot support anything the Unity Party does. Will he have the power to be another kingmaker 2029 by supporting anybody against Unity Party?
So look at Mr. Gaiman. You asked a question. Everybody that spoke, I didn't listen to Mr. Namwe because I was still coming on by listening to Mr. Morris and Mr. Booty. They actually agree with what you said, but then they didn't try to state it very clearly. Okay, so what do you consider a kingmaker? Somebody that is very influential, right? That even whether it's at the 11th hour, if they tell the people this is what it is, that's what it is. So if the guy, I don't know their names, if the guy who just ran, if he ran that close to Prince Johnson, it means his ability in that county is diminishing. People have had him. He has exhausted himself to some extent. It don't mean he's still not influential. So you have to look at, in politics, you look at those, you gauge those. Then not only that, a kingmaker that came out and supported somebody, and then at the last minute, he changed it, he loses credibility. It means his decision making. Yes. This is reality. It means there is a problem with the decision making. It means now it means now he wavering. So that is the
No.
two things that you have to look at.
On the national level, he's a kingmaker. In the county, there's some
Let's come
differences.
to the national level. Let's start from the county. Let me speak.
Go ahead.
Let's start from the county level first. And I'm pointing two things out to you from the county level that show that most of the blacks, people used to blindly just follow Prince. I know Prince Johnson very well. Prince Johnson, we all lived right next to each other throughout when he was in the army, when we were much younger, and all that stuff in the PRC and all of the stuff. What happened is that so that's the county level. Now let's come to the national level, because the question that Mr. Gibbon keep asking that nobody's answering. Prince Johnson on the national level, his strength was based on there is nobody else from that county that is permanent, that is holding any kind of actual position of power in any of the government. Now we have Cone. Now you have the senator. So even if Bwaka was still to be strong enough in 2029, Cone is not going to give it up for MDR. He's going to be in there. Now, what does Prince lie? Will Prince agree to support Unity Party or say no? What could happen in there is that then Nimba is going to be seriously split. So if that happens, Prince power is diminishing. Or if Cone decide that he's going to run, MDR is not known. They have no structure. So that is what Mr. Gibbon is referencing. You got to go with the party that is established and that have the track record. Because MDR, just Nima alone cannot make you win. So that is why he's saying, so if Cone decide that he's going to go with Unity Party, unless Prince at that time, maybe if the war crime code is not on, they have not been arrested, and then maybe if he feel that he will still pledge his allegiance, but if he decide that he would not, he's not going to convincingly try to pull Nima for any other party that he supports that easily. That is a point that we are making.
Let me get 10 seconds, please. I want to give you a little tidbit, please, Mr. Gibbon. On the issue of Jeremiah Coon, I hate to say this, but this is a fact. Jeremiah Coon's influence has been inflated. And let me tell you why. It's purely based on a tribal issue. In Liberia, in most of the counties, we go, by our father's tribe. We know that. We know it's a patriarchal society. Jeremiah Coon's father is a Gribble man from Dolikan in Sano County. His mother is Don. So, I hate to say it, but a Gribble man, he still remains a Gribble man. That's his blood. He's a Gribble man. As for all things, as everything goes. For a Gribble man to be the leader of Nimba County, it will be a difficult thing. Where you have, quote unquote, either full-blooded or, people whose father are Gil or Man, or Don or Man. It'll be difficult. Prince Johnson is the one that carried Jeremiah Coon to the prominence that he has in the county. Prince Johnson says that Jeremiah Coon is his baby. It's his son. He brought him to the people. He presented him to the people. Having a Don mother helped him, but what helped him most was having Prince Johnson's endorsement. So for anybody to think that Vice President Coon will go at it alone without Prince Johnson's endorsement in 2029, you're sadly mistaken. So I just want to put that caveat.
For me, that is
And those were the longest 10 seconds I've ever seen in my lifetime.
No, real quick for me,
real quick, Mr. Taiwo, 10 seconds.
Because the assumption is that Coon, yes, everybody brings somebody. Charles Taylor brought Prince Johnson. So somebody brings somebody, but what we are saying here is that they have 6 years. Jeremiah Coon has 6 years where he's in an area. So if he is looking at the presidency, it is about how he positioned himself and how he worked with the people of Nimba. He's going to have access to the presidency. He's going to have influence. That we're not saying that Prince Johnson is not going to be influential, but we say that they will chip at that base. There will be. It's not everybody that in there because Coon, from grandfather from Maryland, as you're saying, that all of a sudden they all go for Prince. What happened? They will pull some of that base. And what that can do is...
You don't know Nimba, my friend. You don't understand the politics.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. We got a great minds here. Share the show. I'm reading the comments. If you want to make a call, you can make the call, and we'll go from there now. Mr. Nambe, let's go to the final one here. So, let me remind you, at 6 o'clock today, We are going to have the top 4 lawyers, maybe that we know of. We're going to have former Supreme Court Justice Kabina Janet. We're going to have Jerome Verdier. We're going to have Anthony Jensen. We're going to have Anthony Freeman. They are going to be here discussing the legal ramifications of the Supreme Court rulings. So you want to stay tuned. Right after our show, they're going to be coming on, so you can read into the legalistics of what. Remember now, law. Everybody interprets it differently. They're not saying that they're going to be in unison. There may be some disagreement. There may be some agreement. And we're going to read the law differently. Now, let's go to number 4 here. This is very important. I know we're going to come back to this, Mr. Namwe, when we have time. We're going to come back to this particular Nimba thing, because the Nimba thing is very peculiar in the sense that people were saying on this show and other show that Musa Bility, with all his money, because of his background, he stood no chance. His father is from Guinea and all of that stuff, and they would never allow him to take foothold in it. And today he's representing the people of Nimba District 7 in the Senate. We'll come back to that. Let's go to number 4 here. This one I thought was very comical. Mr. Amara Corner, who is a senator, former government official, former finance minister, or protege of President President Salif, said that what he saw, a letter from Mr. Grisby to NASCAR requesting 5 vehicles to be purchased before they even took power. He's seen that as arm twisting, coercion, illegal, and he's suggesting that Grisby be fired. But what's funny about this is the man that is in the Senate that has the power to summit, to cite. Instead, he let go his power and wrote the president directly for the president to fire the man. And I saw that as a grandstanding. This is another feather he wants to put in his capsule. Count 2029, he wants to run to say, I spoke power, I spoke truth to power. But all he had to do was, if you find something illegal, as a senator, it is your job to cite that person. Mr. Namwe, your take.
No, I agree with you. I think it's obvious Mr. Amara Kane is positioning himself for 2029. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I agree with you, too, that if he's really serious, there is a way he can go about this that will be more impactful than these little tidbits and pieces he's releasing every day, writing all these pieces. And yeah, he can cite the man for, they can conduct a hearing on his conduct. I think what Minister Grisby did is wrong. One, he started to behave as a government sitting even before they were inducted. He was already, flexing muscle. That's wrong. Two, the manner and form in which he did what he did, going to NASCAR to expropriate retirees, benefit, and just for a one-day event. I think that is woefully wrong as well. And I think he should be brought in and questioned. I think he should be reprimanded for that. I don't think he should have done that. And I hope they're planning on giving that money back to replenish it wherever they took it from. But I think that was a disrespect to the sitting government. He could have done this thing in a fashion and manner that would have, probably would have passed for some consideration. Even then, for a one-day event, I mean, they could have gone and gotten cars from anywhere. For a one-day event, you have to go and buy. Where are those cars anyway? So I agree with Senator Kane and Senator Dillon, who believe that Mr. Grisby should answer for what he did. I just don't understand why both of them have not mustered the courage to call him in. I don't understand why the president has also not mustered the courage to call him in. And this is a president who is proving to be tone deaf in such an early period in his presidency. I mean, the situation with LEC. I think he even sent someone at LEC, the CFO at LEC, and the man was rejected, and nothing has been done. So again, it makes you wonder who is in charge here. Is the president really in charge? I don't know. But yes, I agree with Senator Connett and Senator Dillon. I think Minister Grisby should be made to answer for what he did. And what was his reliance? What authority did he rely on? Is the president aware of this? And by his silence, I will go ahead and assume that the president was in on it, and that is also regrettable. That he will. But again, we've heard the president advisor, Ms. Cooper, claiming that even before they came into government, that she had gone out and started sourcing resources to complete the VIP launch at the Roberts International Airport. She said that when President Weah was denied the use of that place, how could they have done that? So it looks like there's a lot that has been happening behind the doors that we may not be aware of. But even these two that we're aware of, the president has done nothing about them, and I think he should.
Great. Dr. Booty, this is purely, I've spoken to some legal mind. It is what they did was illegal. Now, if you are coming into government on the mental of transparency, the rule of law, and all of these flowery words, and you come in before you are legally into power, you are absconding money, you are arm twisting, you are coercing a department that has no link to what we are doing, and basically it's a threat. You got to buy me this, or we're coming after you, something of that nature. For the president's office to write a separate entity, say we need 5 cars at $70,000. Well, this is $117,000 per car. We need 5 of these, and we need it ASAP because we want to use it for the inauguration. Then we've seen here, $600,000 was used for the inauguration, and no report of that. There was no water. The president himself fainted there. Then the chair of the party, Mr. Tappet, he agreed that there was 600,000 I give you, and he took $1,000 and $1,000 each from each of the districts, the 73 districts. He took $1,000 each for him and his boys as a minister. These are illegal things that are happening up to now. The president and his men have not. The president may have, but he said he was going to make everyone he appointed to declare their assets before they got into all of these things that are illegal. Have not. These are laws. Dr. Booty.
Well, I think first of all, I would start with the guys at NASCO, right, that allowed themselves to be arm twisted like that, right? It tells you a lot about the society that we live in or have. We don't live there, but we have in Liberia, where individuals believe that the only way that they can succeed in life is to cling onto a government job, right? Because if any one of us in this room with the level of integrity that we have were put in that position, we would rather walk away from the position than to endorse something that was illegal. All right.
Don't be too sure.
Sorry?
I said, don't be too sure.
Well, I'm going to put my neck out there even for you, Mr. Morris. Right.
Oh.
So at the end of the day,
I will tell you
because you're the
man.
only person objecting to having integrity. I said you guys have integrity. You're the only person objecting. So clearly you don't trust yourself. So even for you, I'll put my neck on you. Right. So basically, if I can be allowed to finish. Basically, that is the first thing for me. That for me is concerning as a society. And I saw Mr. Taiwo shaking his head when you were talking about the amount. That's the next thing I'm going to go. Why do we need a car that costs $170,000 in Liberia? Hey, road is not even good. Why would you go and spend $170,000 on a car? That's just unacceptable, right? Unacceptable. There's no way we should be spending that kind of money on one car. Again, when it comes to the president, I have said it and will continue to say it until I see something different. This guy should not be president of Liberia. He's selfish.
Gosh.
No. Let me land. You can disagree with me when I'm finished. He is selfish. He doesn't have the strength, right, to run. Clearly, these guys are running him ragged. It's just 3 months, and he's been ran ragged by the guys around him. He doesn't have the strength. He doesn't have the mental capacity, in my opinion. This is my opinion. He doesn't have the physical capacity to be able to lead Liberia. He wanted his name to be called president, so he threw his heart in the race. And irrespective of his health concerns, his inability to lead, he decided to go. Like you said, just to give a 30-minute speech, he almost went. Right? So he doesn't have the physical capacity to lead.
Yeah, physical capacity, I agree.
The Liberian people will suffer, right, because of this. Now, on the point of Senator Connor, look, I don't disagree with the approach that he took, even though there was a better approach. The better approach would be to write the Senate, and I think I read somewhere that he did write the Senate and ask them to investigate or to probe this. Maybe I misread it. I'm not sure, but I thought I read somewhere that he has asked the Senate to look into it. If he hasn't, then the advice to him is, look, you are the branch of the Liberian government that is supposed to check and balance on the other branches. So please do your check and balance. Call this guy in, ask him the questions, show him the evidence. And if you can prove, like we were saying from the start with the suspension of the people in tenure position, prove the case first before you start suspending. Prove the case before you ask the president to fire somebody. Prove that this guy actually went there and asked for the money. So then you can say, look, here is the proof, Mr. President, fire him. And if the president then does not go ahead and do it, then I can continue to say what I say, even though Mr. Morris would disagree with me that the president is spineless and is incapable of running this country.
Mr. Gavin, let me respond to him, please.
I've not spoken.
Give me 10 minutes. I'll be 10 seconds. Now, we're serious now. 10 seconds. Go ahead. Then we're going to time.
No, I know. If you're going to Mr. Because I haven't spoken on this issue, but if you're going to Mr. Tower before me, go to him. But I wanted my chance to speak.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I would disagree with Dr. Booty. Not because it's customary, but because I have a legitimate point of disagreement. Look, the president is capable mentally. He has the faculties to do the job. But physically, I think he has limitations. Of course, with his advanced age, you will expect that. And that's why many people thought having a young, vibrant, vice president like Vice President Kuhn, who will be used as the body, quote unquote, of the president to do the running around, to go to different engagements and so forth. Like Prince Johnson was saying in that leaked tape, Kuhn will be the one doing most of the work, especially the physical work of traveling and making appearances on behalf of the president. But the reality is President Boyka does not trust Vice President Jeremiah Kuhn. You remember when Kuhn in 2017 said that his brain was everything was going downhill, made some disparaging comments about the president now, President Boyka, and that made him, second, to kind of second guess himself in terms of the trust he wants.
As your vice president?
For political reason, because it was politically advantageous to him.
That's the that I'm talking about. That's the selfish.
Yeah, but if you say, hold on. If you say selfish, fine, I can say that. But when you say he's spineless, no, that's what I'm saying. Hold on now. I want to spell out my disagreement with you. I'm not disagreeing with everything you said.
Let's go.
Before this president came into power, people know me on this platform. I was quite harsh on him. But the respect that I have for the office of the presidency of the Republic of Liberia, I'm not going to use strong language against our president. He is our president, and as such, I'm going to give him some due deference. But calling him spineless and other people calling him an imbecile in the comments, I think it's beyond the pale. I was angry when people did it to President Weah, and I will be angry when people disrespect our president because they're disrespecting the office of the presidency. So let's be mindful. I just want to put that caveat in there. I think physically, of course, he's limited, and we all knew that. But mentally, he's not, comatose. He's not a person who has some I hate to use the word mental retardation, that he can't fully function.
Mr.
And has the
Mr.
cognitive ability. He has the
Morris,
cognitive ability to do the job, but he
Mr. Morris,
lacks the
No, Mr.
physical. He has the physical limitations. That's what I would say.
Let me
Mr.
respond.
Morris,
Let me
I
respond.
don't
Give me
think
10
it,
seconds,
I
please.
don't think
listen,
when
Mr.
you say
Morris.
you're spineless, it
Let
means
me
you
give you
don't
a
have
real
a
quick
physical.
question
I
here,
don't think so.
Mr. Morris. Let
It
me
just
give you a
means
quick
you're not standing up to the bully. That's what
listen.
makes you
That's
spineless.
it.
Mr.
Right?
It
Morris,
don't mean
one
I'm
quick question.
insulting him.
President
One
doing
quick
very
question,
well.
guys. One quick question, Mr. Morris. During the campaign, the president was in Lofa, and he was at a press conference, and he was totally confused. Had no idea where he was, and he was asking just like Paul Biya, where am I? What am I supposed to say?
No, that's not true, Mr. Gaiman. Let's be honest. That was Monsieur Bade. That was a press conference in the office, not in Lofa. They were trying to get this man to.
During the election, he was confused, discombobulated.
Yeah, because he didn't know the protocol. He didn't know exactly what they wanted him to do, why he was there, what to address.
That
Doesn't
says
mean
a lot.
he lacked the mental faculties.
That says a lot about his mental capacity.
Anybody can be confused, Mr. Gaiman, at any given point in time.
Mr. Nambe,
Don't do that.
your take.
Mr. Tower, it should be Mr. Tower. It should be Mr.
No,
Tower.
I wanted to respond quickly. I wanted 10
Mr. Tower, I
seconds.
just spoke on the
Other
issue,
people
Mr.
have
Nambe. You open it.
Go ahead,
10
Dr.
seconds.
All right,
10 seconds.
Go ahead, Dr.
Mr. Morris. Sorry, Mr. Tao. Mr. Tao, I apologize. Mr. Morris, me calling the president spineless is not an insult. You can respect the office and disagree with the person occupying the office, right? I'm disagreeing with the person that is occupying the office. I don't say that the presidency of Liberia
Don't
is
use
spineless.
ad hominems.
No, Mr.
You cannot tell me how to approach. Look,
You
have
can't
you,
say that.
No, when you say you're not disrespecting by using ad hominems, it's disrespectful within yourself.
It's not
It is.
It is
when
not
you had your 10
Go ahead, Mr.
seconds, you've been allowed to speak. When you had your 10 seconds, you've been allowed to speak. Allow me to speak. I'm not disrespecting President Bouakai. I have no antipathy towards the individual, none whatsoever. I have a distaste for someone who puts their personal interest ahead of the Republic of Liberia. You've just helped make my point. This vice president cost you up in 2017, and then you picked him to be your running mate. That is selfish because you knew that getting him on board will get Prince Johnson to endorse you, will get you to get the votes from Nimba County, you will get your name on the stake as president. Since he's become president, this president has done nothing that suggests that he has the strength, right, of character to go against the people around him. We've just been talking about what he's done at the LTA. That's a spineless way. When the Supreme Court says, look, this is wrong, you accept it as wrong and move ahead. You don't try and find a sneaky way. That's how spineless people act. You find a sneaky way to get it done by not accepting your defeat. When you've been defeated by the law, say, look, okay, the law says I can't do it, that's fine. I'll find another way to do it, right? But don't try and sneak around. Spineless people don't do things the right way. They always try to circumvent because they're not able to stand up and prove that this thing should be done the way they want it to be done. So I don't disrespect the office. The individual in there I don't disrespect, but he's not working in a way that I think he should work, and he hasn't demonstrated any strength whatsoever.
Thank you. Mr. Nangwe, then I go to
No,
I don't know why you jumping over that Mr. Tower. It's not Mr. Number time, it's the main time. Mr. Number open this puppet.
Nambe said he wanted to say something. I'll give you 10 seconds.
No. It's okay, Jerome. Please go to Mr. Tower.
No. You can go ahead if you want to.
No, I absolutely agree with Dr. Booty. Basically, I wanted to make that point that when he says the president has not shown any spine, I don't see how that's insulting the presidency. I think all of us here have tried the best we can, to accord the presidency the respect that we think it deserves. But to say the president has not stood up to the bullies around him who are pushing him around, I don't see how that's an insult to the presidency. We have read here on in numerous media how the guys in the legislature, the president pro tem in particular, Darius Dillon in particular, how the president has sent his nominees to the legislature and they've taken pen to the list that the president sent out. And we read that. And they removed names from the list. How is that not bullying him around? Has he ever stood
It's
up?
not. That's not bullying at all.
What is it then?
Come on,
What
Elvin.
is it?
Look, the president worked in concert with his partisan in the House and in the Senate. If they don't think this is a good fit, they're going to reject that nomination. So to save him the embarrassment, they send that nomination back as a sign of rejection. Come on now, that's how politics works.
No, Mr. Murray, you use the word concert. Means the final decision rests with the president. You do not correct the president when he makes a decision, Mr. Tao. Your take on the issue.
Yeah. So in this whole issue here is that
Exactly.
for Mr. Morris says something here that yes, physically the president may not be, but the president have the ability and the capacity to be able to do the job. The president been in power for 4 months. Everything that he's done is wrong. Everything that he's done, that is why we're always here.
It's not true. That's not true. That's factually incorrect.
Whatever you want to say, that it is the people that are around him, he is the president. We don't know those people. We know him. Everything that he's done is wrong. I came on this platform in December, the second week in December. That was the first time I came here. And I made a statement that this government was going to be no better than we are government. In fact, in some instances, it was going to be worse. And I was not just making it because I hate the guys that are in the government or anything, because I know how the system works. The system is inherently corrupt. The people come to power solely for them to make monetary gain. So I just knew that. And as soon as we order the promises that I'm going to declare my asset, how can you say that he's doing something wrong? The very essence of accountability that he himself, he paraded that he would declare, he has never asked anybody to. Nothing. What is declaration if you're going to make it private? That's nonsense. And then there is something else with the letter that was written for vehicles to be purchased. These are the things that I'm saying. We play around with the word legal, as if it really supposed to mean something. Hitler committed, according to record, the 6 million murder legally. There were laws passed. Slavery was done legally. Racism is carried out legally. So because it's legal. Yeah, because it's legal don't mean it's right, because it is people with criminal intent, a whole bunch of crimes. The major crimes are committed legally. So when we get throwing legality around, let us look at the morality of the legal process that is going on here. Because at the end of the day, something being legal don't make it right. It means group of crooks got together. The legislature paid themselves 35 and 15,000 and 40,000. They did that legally. That's corruption. They're looting the country. They passed the law legally. So my problem here is this. Amara Conan wrote the letter. And I want for us to really catch this. Because somebody bring a good message, as we want to put it, right? But we have to look at the people. Because so that we can try to point out to the Liberian people, don't be deceived. This is the same Conan that have it today. LC does not work. It was on him. They committed other corruption. Said they spent $1 billion over there. It was on the same Conan that is bankrupt Nocal. The bank and he is in that audit report that they were taking money that was illegal. They never answered. And this is the same man now. He's supposed to be some kind of accountability czar. We need to point that out. And what is the next one? Guys like because we need to point these things out so that our people can see it. Okay, so Conan might be saying something that yes, this guy did something, but say logo, even though you heard this is Conan here. Look at his record. So that way it put them in check, so that even after they leave that area, they think they can get high because a couple of years apart, we can still point it out and expose them. Musa ability. They were talking about, oh, his son was on drug. He did really good. He said, take him to jail. Guess what? Where is the case? There's the same Musa ability that he said, I came to the UPP government or the UP government with 5 million. I'm leaving with 50 million. There's the same guy that sat on. He was on there with my cousin too. The youth and sports. All of the money that FIFA sent in for him to develop the youth program, because these are some of the drug stuff. He looted everything. What happened? He was sanctioned. This is the same man to do that. Musa ability. So we need to see these things and we need to point them out. These aspects. So we need to, wherever they are, we need to point them out at all times. Even if they're saying something that seems to be good, even if we make reference to that, we say, yes, we hear this, but where was he at this time? Look at his response for some of these problems. We need to point that out. Let's make that our duty.
Great.
It's not about hitting anybody.
Great. Now, for next week, this is a teaser. We're going to talk about it briefly, and then we'll go to our closing because we want to be out of here for our next show to start on time. Mr. Morris, on the front pages of all the paper in Liberia today, we found that the Joint Ways, Means, and Finance Committee discovered $51 million in the budget that was submitted by Joseph Wakai.
An additional, right?
Additional 51 million that were hidden in other areas.
I wake up put barrel budget.
No, according to Mr. Morris, he not do a lot of good things. He do nothing wrong here.
Oh my man, well, I get my chest out.
Hey, Dr. Booty now. Hey, listen, the man on the ground, you can't kick him. You can't do it. Okay.
I don't on the ground, first of all.
Mr. Morris, listen to this now. Foreign affairs, $844 million was discovered hiding somewhere.
844,000.
Yeah, $844,000. The Liberian Information Services, $2 million. Ministry of Labor, $2 million. Ministry of Mine Energy, $8 million. Ministry of Transport, $740,000. Liberia Revenue Authority, people who will be collecting the money.
Let me get my chance to talk, please. I get it.
They took $8 million. Ministry of Commerce and Industry, $1.35 million. What is it? Liberian Oil Refinery, $2 million. Liberian Port Authority, $2.5 million. The Fishery, $1.5 million. Liberia Petroleum Regulatory Authority, $12.8 million. I mean, this is unbelievable, Mr. Morris.
Yeah, it's not unbelievable, and I will tell you why in a second. But let me say something quick. In this very country we live in, for example, when a president makes a nomination, he consults with the majority whip, whether that's in the Senate or in the House, if they have enough votes. And before they put that person on the floor for a vote, the president have to be sure the pro tem or the whip, the majority whip of that house have to be sure that he whip up enough vote so that nomination is going to pass. So when you have the pro tem consulting with the president and telling him we don't have enough vote, the majority of our caucus don't have confidence in this nomination, and as such you need to rejoice because it's not going to pass. That's completely fine within the political system we have in our country, in this country as well. But let me tell you why I don't blame the president for the extra.
That's not what happened, Mr. Murray. That's not what happened.
Hold on, Mr. Nangwe.
I think you're putting it fine.
What about the lawyer that was giving a proof?
Mr. Namwe,
hold on now.
Mr. Morris is on a different planet today.
No, I want to be objective in my analysis. I don't just want to be on this president for anything. We know how the nomination process works, But then on this issue of the budget, look, this was not written in invisible pen where you can't see it. What it tells you is that these guys didn't look over the budget meticulously. Usually they depend on their aides to read it and then relay it to them. They themselves don't go at home, burn the midnight candle and read over it in its entirety to understand what's exactly in it. That's why even in this very country, people pass full barrel budget, and they put a lot of little things in there for people who was kind of like the deciding vote, and those people get it for their constituents, and that's part of legislation in this country. So if these guys didn't do their due diligence to see and understand the budget and to read into it, all the little poke barrel things that was hidden in it, all the little extra fat that was in this budget, if they didn't do their due diligence, that's on them. That's what we send them there to do, to be our eyes and ears. You don't expect the executive to always be in the interest, of everybody. That's why they're supposed to go there and check the executive. Because if the executive can get one over on the people, they're going to do it. So our representative, who was supposed to represent our best interests, should be reading this budget meticulously to see everything that benefits their constituents and even everything that benefits the nation as a whole. Anything that may be contrary to benefiting the country or that may be harmful to the country, they need to point it out. So they're coming back later and say, "Oh, we just pointed after I don't know how many, maybe a month later." That's on them. They should have read it the first time before they even went onto the floor, before they passed it. That's my point.
Victor, brother Namwe.
Yeah, thank you.
Listen, I have never seen or heard, and I've been in government a long time. This man here, the one he explained today, it passed my free time message passed my because usually the executive is the progenitor of the cause of the people. You're the one that came and say, "I'm going to improve healthcare. I'm going to improve this. I'm going to improve that." Then you take the money that was supposed to go to these people and put it into a different area when you are arrested. Then the man say, "Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Nagwe."
Yeah, I honestly don't know really what's happening to Mr. Morris today.
I'm not towing the line of opposition.
I remember during the campaign, Senator Lawrence, Kanga Lawrence, and others were saying, the Vice President Bogart doesn't need to go anywhere. We'll campaign for him. We'll do the work, And then this president got elected, and of course, he outsourced his responsibility to nominate to the various senators. And so I think the senators believe that, it is their responsibility to do the president's job. But the people went to the polls to elect Joseph Nimba County. They didn't elect Darius Dillon as president of Liberia or Yomli Kanga as president of Liberia. I think Mr. Murray doesn't understand what I'm talking about. If the president sends the nomination to the Senate, you have the right to put them through the process and deny them confirmation. You can do that. Or you can advise the president and you can withdraw a name. But when you sit in your office and run a pen through the president nomination, that's bullying. That has nothing to do with anything about, you trying to preserve the president's dignity because, they were not passed through. No, that's not what we're talking about. But back to the Senator Johnson situation, for full disclosure too, my wife is from Nimba, so the Nimbayans are my in-laws. But I just wanted to point out what is happening here. I think the people of Nimba have proven that they will support President Senator Johnson when they think he deserves their support. But on this particular issue, where the senator complained that the current government is after him with the war crime court, and that is why he rejected Tuan. And yet the people of Nimba went ahead and elected him. I think that says a lot. And I think Senator Johnson would do well to pull back and really, really take stock of what is happening. Yes, I agree with Mr. Morris. Intra-Nimba politics can be very, very, nuanced. But when it comes time for the Nimbayans to unite against an external enemy, I think they will all rally. So I think President Senator Johnson, in that case, I think he still, is revered as the father of Nimba County. Now, back to the president's nomination and withdrawal and all these people's suspension. I just read what Councilor Freeman wrote here. This is tantamount to an obstruction of the work of the court, that these people were sent back for the president to get it right. And now he's trying to circumvent the process. Dr. Budi already pointed that out by this little, suspension and all of that. And I think these people should challenge him again on that. Let him take him to court and let the court embarrass them again and send them back to do it right. So great show. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I hope we'll be able to help the process today. Thank you.
Sir, let me just say something quickly, Mr. Nangwe. Don't give Mr. Morris credit for what I said. I made a point about the intra-Nimba politics. Right?
I am sorry, Dr. Budi.
I'm not going to allow you guys to beat up on my young man. Hey.
Yeah, the guys want to bully me, Mr. Gamer. You got to come to my rescue. Don't bully me.
I see that for your youthful indiscretion. Go ahead, Mr. Taiwo, your
Yeah,
closing.
so look at what happened here. Let
Yeah.
me correct something here that Mr. Morris said, or several things. In the first place, I've been in the U.S. almost 30 years. I've read and followed many political appointees or nominations, stuff like that. The president does not go ahead and send a list, and nobody touches that list. What the president does is, if let's say if the Republican have the majority, or if they have the speaker or whatever, he might take you on Air Force One if he's trying to get something through. And then there they do their stuff, right? So then they do that consultation. Sometimes he invite them to the White House in the Oval Office. They do all of this stuff. They have their meeting. There is where they look at that. Once that name go out, nobody in there touches anything. It got to go through the confirmation process. So it's not what happened in Liberia. So that's the difference. And then the next one is talking about Poke Barrel. So, and he said that is how happening here in the U.S. And so therefore that is how happening. You're going to go ahead and take a very corrupt system that even they themselves, they're crying about here. And you say that we should practice the same thing because it's happening here. Pope Barrel is a very corrupt system. These are some of the things that's making this country to go down. So we shouldn't encourage it that we should do it over there. So that's one. The next one is to say that they put it in there and the people, the representative or whoever, they were supposed to take the time and look at the line item. That's not even what happened. Because if they put those things in there, and if it was disclosed, if that number were reflected in the final budget, then they would say, wait, hold on, they would see it. What they did was they buried the money in there, they subtracted them from the final reflection of that budget. That is why when they find it, they rectify it and now the budget changed. So it's completely two different things. They put $10 here, they put $20 here, but they still show $50 as the final budget. They put another 100 here, and then they hit that because they were just going to suck it up. So when it was looked at, they said, wait, hold on, why is this still 650 million when we just saw 51 million that is buried and not reflected in the final number? So that is what they made. They reflected that now. That is why you see the budget increase. So the guy, somebody need to be held responsible because they were just pretty much outright, even though they want to steal most of the budget in the first place, they still bury another 51 million in there that they were just going to pocket.
Great. We're going to discuss it next Sunday, guys. We got 5 minutes. Let's do 1 minute closing each because I want us to be fair to the guys who are coming on 6 o'clock. At least we'll get them a minute or two to get set up. Dr. Booty, closing 1 minute.
Yeah, thank you. I think thank you everyone for today. It was a really great show. Look, thanks to the Supreme Court for doing their jobs. I know we're praising them for doing what they're supposed to do, but we're glad that they did. The president needs to do the right thing. If he wants to investigate, but hire people with promote individuals within LTA for continuity, and not bring in people from outside that we have to pay double salaries like Mr. Langby talked about. On the issue of Nimba County, I still believe that Senator Johnson has a lot of pull. I think one of the commenters mentioned the fact that Prince Johnson wasn't in the race. Because if he was in the race, I don't think Yan Kwame wins, right? So he wasn't in, right? So it's easy for people to vote for someone else when the king himself is not in the race. And finally, on the issue of Minister Grisby, there has to be an investigation. The Senate has to probe it. And where necessary, the Ministry of Justice has to launch an investigation because this would demonstrate some impartiality on the part of the ministry because they are supposed to be representing the interests of the Liberian people. And if this man requested money and utilized that money unlawfully, then he should be prosecuted. They should not play politics with this. Then I might start to agree with my brother, Mr. Morris, that this president has done something right.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Nimba, we got 3 minutes. You're 1 minute.
Thank you. Actually, I thought I had closed, but
you already closed. So let's skip it.
Morris is going to happen. No, I agree with everything that Dr. Booty has said, especially the Supreme Court. I think they met, they worked commendation, at least for one standing up. And I hope this president has gotten the message. It doesn't seem he has, but I think our institutions, integrity institutions, they need to stand up and stiffen their backs, and do what they're supposed to do. So I'm very happy today that the Supreme Court has done what they've done, and hopefully this is what is going to continue in the future. Again, thank you for the opportunity. Great show.
Thank you. Taiwo, 1 minute. We got 2 minutes left. One minute.
First, for the Nimba County and the Prince Johnson, I want to believe that his authority as kingmaker is going to be on the line. He showed that he's wavering, that he is not really sure. To the point where as soon as the guy won, he knew that he screwed up and he needed to try to amend something. He posted a long message on Facebook. I read that. So pretty much that. When it comes to the tenure thing and removing those guys, I think the president needs to go to the legislature so that they can repeal it if he don't want that. But he's not going to do it because he's going to try. He wants to place his own people in there and also get them tenure while trying to remove other people that are tenure. So pretty much, yeah, that's what I see.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. 30 seconds.
Let me be emphatic. Look, I'm in opposition to this president. I'm a CDC supporter. I've been CDC supporter since 2017. I remain so. But I want to be objective in my analysis on this platform. Elections are over. Emotions have come back to normal. So I'm not going to be too zealous when I'm analyzing this. The things that the president does. But lastly, I'm happy for the people of Nimba. I think that saying, that motto, Nimba Kwado, Nimba we're one, I think is more reflected now in a political sphere. And that's a good thing for the people of Nimba. So kudos to them, and God bless Liberia, and God bless our president, Joseph Boyka. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to close next week. For now, it's 6 o'clock on the dot, and we have to go. Thank you. As always, we are one. We all Liberian, no matter what.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home.